And we are live. What is going on, guys? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to yet another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. Of course, I am your host, Vaughn Coleman. And before I introduce my next guests, I want to make sure that I bring something out. I'm going to go ahead and show off a trailer for a comic book that is just about to get out. So we only have a few days left on Kickstarter. I edited this book, so make sure you guys check it out. It's got that Vaughn Coleman seal of approval, and here it is.
One, two, three, four, five, five, four, three, two, one. That's a bad list. A couple of cardiac arrests here. Any time for that afternoon. Mike, Nick, hold tight. Roger that, Dad. All systems go. Tell Mom we'll be home soon for dinner. Godspeed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, lift off and the clock has started. Yes, sir. Reading it loud and clear.
Houston, we've had a problem.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. Are you seeing this, Houston? Roger. Data's coming in. Stay on course. Maintain your position. Maintain your position. For God's sake, this can't be real. Dad, do we have any options?
Roger, maintain interval.
Boys, fly safe.
That's one small step for man.
And speaking of comic books, let's bring in our guests, shall we? Let's bring in these two guys who have their own book to share. Let's see it. First, we got Jay Doyle. How you doing?
What's up?
Yo. And John Osachuk. How you doing, John?
Awesome. How about you?
Doing well.
That's a cool trailer you got, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I can't take credit for it. I'd love to.
Sure.
But yeah, it was fun to edit that book. But enough about me and the books I've worked on. Let's talk about you, gentlemen. So you've got a book out right now that it seems like you guys have spent, quite a bit of time on. But before we get into that, I wanted to get into just tell the audience, for those that don't know, who you are and what exactly they're working on. So, Jay, let's start with you. Or let's start with John. Okay, we get ready.
Start with us, right?
Boom. All right. There you go. Nope. There you go. Yep. The mirroring always gets me every time. I think I got it right that time. Yeah. What the hell? But I'm always like showing off my comic book and then the lettering is like mirrored. I'm like, shit. Anyway, so John, tell us about who you are and what exactly you do in terms of comic books and just what have you.
Sure. Well, my name is John Osachuk, and I am the writer and co-creator of Atlas of Sidonia and Desolate Soul Studios. And I've read comic books most of my life, kind of on again, off again. I'm into my latest phase now, but right now, Jay and I are focused on creating this book that we know people are really going to like. It's just that nobody knows who we are yet. So it's just kind of playing that patience game and showing this to as many people as we can.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's make sure we get to know you, fine gentlemen. So you're a writer, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
I'm the writer for the team.
Gotcha. And so what got you into writing?
I've written and done like kind of storytelling, I would say, my whole life. It started when I was a little kid, just playing with toys, He-Man or Thundercats, things like that, just coming up with adventures while playing. Writing stories when I was a kid, did a lot of reading. I think most writers are big-time readers. I don't read much anymore outside of like manga and some graphic novels because it's too time-consuming. But throughout high school, I was always good at English. I always did really well in the creative assignments, like whether it was making like writing a short story or making a movie or some type of project like that. And we would always work together to make the story. But when it comes to writing, I part of it for me is also just being kind of like a therapy, I suppose, like journaling and doing stuff like that. And I always had a dream of creating a story of epic proportions because I fell in love with epic fantasy when I was in high school. And then obviously comic books, we've talked about Claremont to pile, right? In the past. And these long, elaborate storylines that are so well planned out and to deliver the goods. And that's what I wanted to do. But throughout my like 20s and even 30s, what I realized I was doing in hindsight was I was just coming up with a lot of like world building ideas. And there was some stories there, but they weren't well thought out enough because I didn't realize that there's a lot of work in learning how to tell a story properly. You can't just throw some words on a page and hope to, and capture the audience. So then I spent about seven years, I would say, really studying the art of storytelling. And now, here we are. And we're on the precipice of this first book coming out. And it's really an introduction to a much larger world.
That's awesome. And so I wanted to ask then, because you mentioned that you studied for like 7 years. Was it that what you majored in, or was that
No, independent study. Like I still had a job and kids and family and all those responsibilities, but YouTube makes it free.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I did spend a little bit of money on who was it? It was that company called Masterclass, and they had all kinds of different writers and creators in different mediums. So I purchased that, and I think I bought it for like a year, and I listened to the writers over and over again. And one of my best kind of writing tips that I always promote myself now came from that. Who was the guy? He was a dramatist. Like he did a lot of like theater and stuff like that. It might come to me, but the tip, his name should come to me. But the tip is you need to have the point A of your story figured out and the point B. If you don't have those, then you're kind of just spinning your wheels and like you're brainstorming, you're coming up with ideas. But until you understand where the story begins and where it ends, you don't really have a story. And then once you figure those two things out and are set on them, then you know where you're going and what what the middle is. And it doesn't matter how long it takes to get there, you have that direction. So it's very easy to add like misleading information and red herrings to distract the reader and have them going off in a different direction if you know where you're headed.
Absolutely. And, I write that down, even though I know that, I still write it down. And I think that's true even within scenes often is,
Totally.
You have like, okay, where do I need to be by the end of this scene? And often I find most of the difficulties, not all, a lot of it is, okay, how do I get there? Right. But like a lot of the difficulties really stem from, when it comes to writing or storytelling in general, of not knowing what you need to convey or what you need to do. Once you know that, really, I feel like everything becomes simpler, at least from a writing standpoint. But before we could go back and forth on writing in general, but let's talk to the artist.
We should just keep talking about writing.
It's fine. Just the entire time.
He has his crayons in front of him over there. He's happy.
His crayons?
Oh, crayons. Oh, okay. All right.
You're pretty good. That's a unique coloring.
Yeah, that's the writer insulting the artist. Okay.
Right. Well, we've got time. You can always, throw it back at him. So, Jay, you are an artist.
I don't play that game.
Oh, okay. He's going to do the high ground.
It's not on camera.
He's going to look down at you. So, Jay, what got you into comic books and comic book creating and just art in general?
Well, first, I want to say thanks for inviting us on.
Oh, of course.
Secondly, I want to say hi to the chat. Thanks for joining us tonight and welcome. What got me into comics? Well, I was always a Batman, Spider-Man kind of kid growing up, the cartoons and the TV series. And then going into the comic shops with my buddies. But then the X-Men got into my hands when I was about 9 or 10 years old, and that kind of changed my life because reading those books and seeing John Byrne and Claremont put those X-Men books out was like and to this day, still the best thing. It was like gold to me. I would sit there and draw Wolverine. I would try to draw a Nightcrawler. I would sit there and just draw those characters all day long. And then after that, it was the Dark Knight Returns and the Watchmen, and seeing the and I've mentioned this a lot already, but it's worth saying it again. But seeing the Joker running through the streets shooting people is just like, what? You can put this in a comic book? I'm like, holy shit! Because I'm so used to the your typical book where you don't see the violence, you don't see gun violence. You see like kind of like in Star Wars, you see the lasers being shot, but you never really see anyone like dramatically get hurt. But I mean, seeing that in a comic book, I was like, holy shit! You can
let alone in a superhero comic too. Like,
yeah,
it's not to say that. I mean, they're definitely they hit. Well, that's not true. They hit violence even in like a ton of stuff. But yeah, I think that was a whole crazy thing. Dark Knight Returns is how graphic it was.
Like I mentioned this to a few people that always ask me about these books and that weren't around for that time. But it was a magical time. It was amazing time. Like collecting comics was fantastic. Like the best time of your life. It was just, and you always dreamed of like having movies of X-Men, movies of like they put out what movie did they have out? It was just awful. I think it was a live action Spider-Man series, and I remember watching it. I was like, oh my god, this is awful. But anyway, so I was always drawing. I got into art. I started when I got into middle school. I started drawing more and more. Art teacher there noticed me drawing all the time. Started asking me to do some art projects instead of written projects because I hate writing. So I mean, I started getting into and he was the art teacher. So I was doing that, and then I got into high school and I got into art school, art class. And in our school, they had animation with art. So I was doing still life. I was learning animation. I was doing everything like in the last 3 or 4 years I was in high school. So it was a great time. And then I was just like drawing nonstop. I was like painting my walls and all white, and then I'd draw on the walls and then paint on whatever I had drawn out. I was doing graffiti styles, doing everything. So I got into that, and then like I always played sports my whole life, so like you couldn't really talk to the guys in the locker room about comics. You think you were classified a nerd at that time. It's not like now. Like back then.
Let me stop you right there. You're still absolutely a nerd if you talk about comic books. These people will say, "Oh, I love this," but if you mention like you read the comics, they'll be like, "Oh, like passively interested," but not. Still, you're still. But I'm sure it was much like worse back.
Oh, then. It was worse. It was much worse. You were bullied and stuff. Even though I was like, I fought and all that kind of stuff. So like it wasn't like a thing. Hey, you wanted to fit in with the guys and everything. So like that was kind of a hidden thing. And then I always had these friends that we'd like on the weekends we'd take off, go downtown and go to the comic shops and go to the movies and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't want to drag it out. But yeah, so like life happens, you're partying, you're with girls, you're doing all that kind of stuff. Then I was a paramedic for 15 years. And when I was a paramedic, I was like constantly like just doodling and drawing, and people are like, holy shit, you can draw. And I'm just like, yeah, like people do that, So I never really thought of it. And I always wanted to, do a book. And then I got in a severe car crash. A guy T-boned me so hard that he rolled me onto another vehicle, and I had fractured my neck and everything. And yeah, Secret Nerd Jay, that was me. So like that was like I was supposed to be reffing. I was reffing MMA, and I was supposed to be like going to meet up with Dana White and everything in Minneapolis for the UFC and potentially ref with the UFC down like in the future. Not saying it was going to happen, but it's potentially. So like that all that kind of changed, and then I got a job at a school, and I became a gym teacher at this at-risk youth and behavioral school, and I was doing that, and then I just out of nowhere just like was drawing I think it was drawing Batman with Scarecrow, and one of the teachers looked at me and goes, she just said, "What the hell? How come you never showed me this before?" I'm like, it's just a doodle. And she goes, "That's a doodle?" And I'm like, yeah. And she's just like, "You need to, do this." And I'm like, sure. And then she kind of pushed me a little bit more, and she just like, you need to draw. So then I created a comic book club for the kids. That was a big success. And I started getting a little more confident, and then I started actually drawing more and more because the concussion area, I had like severe concussion and brain trauma from the car accident. So it was hard for me to focus, and so I started drawing again. I was doing crosswords, and it was doing all these other things. So I decided, I'm going to draw to see if it helps with my brain, so I can focus on things, and it helped. It actually helped, and so start drawing, and next thing you know, I'm being asked by Marvel to show my portfolio. So I go to Marvel, have a really great conversation with them, and having conversations on and off through email. Then they sent me a Deadpool script, a sample script, and then they wanted me to do that, and I was kind of looking at it, and then I kind of just realized, like, this is a lot of pressure. I don't know if I want to do this, because like trying to get a book, like, in 30 days or 40 days, trying to draw this all out with the paneling and everything, I still have a full-time job. Like, I just don't know if I can do it. So I sent a message, I sent an email back saying, I don't know if I can do this right now, but I'd be, more than happy to do like 5 pages for a book, because they were offering to do 5 pages. And I said, I'd love to do like covers or something like that if the opportunity ever came about. And I never really heard anything. And then John hit me up, and then we just kind of went from there. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so that's where we're at.
So did you guys know each other beforehand, or
No,
you never?
No.
But how'd you find this man, then, John?
I was talking about this script I had written that I wanted to get some concept art for. Like, I forget the name of the artist. I know he's a legendary artist that George Lucas went to and had the
Ralph McQuarrie?
Yeah, there you go. You got it. He created pieces of art that were iconic, right? Because he set the stage for Star Wars. And I was, not to compare my project to Star Wars, but it's there now. I reached out through this mutual contact to get connected with Jay, because she told me, I know a guy who does some art, and, he does commissions. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's cool. And then we met up one night at McDonald's, and I did what I do, which is just like start talking about my story for like 3 hours. And Jay suggested that we do it as a graphic novel, as opposed to, out of nowhere trying to sell a property from Winnipeg to Hollywood to get it created as I see it in my vision. Because that's what I love about comics, even more so than novels, is the scale that you can capture on the page versus what you can do it with a Hollywood budget or even a television budget, right?
Oh yeah,
you can really set a lovely scale.
It's limited really by the page and how many of them you can do. It's not and the artist and the writer, that's what it's. And so I love that too. That was the thing, is I had so many of these big budget ideas that I was always coming up with, and comics, it's a great way to just get them out there. And so that's really cool. So you guys have been working on this specific project for how long?
Well, John and I had a discussion. I was actually really excited to do this. Like I was in a pretty dark place. I felt lost. Sometimes I suffer from depression just from the taking too many punches to the head and from the car accident. But I mean, that's what you get when you play sports and you kickbox and you box and all that kind of stuff. But John and I were really excited to do this. John went to what we call a folk fest here. It's a big festival where they play folk music and all that kind of stuff. And he was going to send me the script. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. I'm not getting anything. I'm talking to my son, and I was like, he's not sending me anything. Like, is he expecting me to write the script, do everything? And so I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this, because I don't even know John really. Like I met him the one night.
This
was really great
conversation.
Yeah, well,
Got me all excited.
Yeah. Here I am sitting here with a semi, and I'm just like, what? Like, there's nothing going on. So I messaged him like, dude, I don't know what you want me to do here. Like, I think I'm gonna have to say I'm out, because like, what are you expecting? And I get a message back, no, I'll send you a script. And so sitting there, I'm like, okay, like, all right, I'll see if you can send me a script. So he sent me the script. I finally received it. I start reading it, and I'm like, holy shit, this is actually really good. This is something, because I know comics. I know good comics.
Mhm.
I know bad comics. You know good stories, and it's not agenda driven. It's not anything like. And we had that discussion at McDonald's.
Mhm.
John was like wanted to have his IP kept to himself. He wanted to tell his story, and it was precious to him. So I'm sitting there reading this, and I'm like, damn, this could be a really, really great, graphic novel. So I'm like, okay, dude, I love it. I'm in. Let's go like this. So then we started like throughout the summer. We were talking to how we wanted to approach it. We were going to start off with like a 22, 24 page book. And John and I like went through the panels, how we wanted to lay out the first book. It was going to be the prologue. And then I drew it all out. I had all like 24 pages drawn out. It took me, I think, what was it, 28 days or something like that. I had it drawn out. And then we were talking to publishers. So we had like, how many publishers, John, did we go through?
I don't even know.
Yeah, we went through a
many.
whack load of we went through a lot of publishers, and they all wanted to rip us off. Like they all like were saying, well, we'll give you like 12%, and we'll give you like 8. Like Image was like, I think, less than 12%, and all these companies. I'm like, no, thank you. Like that's like we're doing all the legwork, and you just capitalize and get all the money. No, that doesn't fly with me, and it didn't fly with John. And John, and I don't want to speak for John, but John always stated like he didn't want other people to have control of his property and kind of guide it in the wrong direction. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, that's bang on.
Yeah. So we just like, okay, well, maybe we'll do it by ourselves. And then we got John got a message from Friesen Press. We had a great conversation with them, and it was just like, oh, okay, great, like let's do this. And so the one thing he said to us is like 24 pages is a dying, like that's not selling in stores anymore. Trade paperbacks and the mangas are selling, like you have to have at least 48 pages at the very least, because the retailer wants to get their money out of the book.
Yeah.
So John and I are like, okay, so we back to the drawing board. Let's like do another revision. And we already had about how many revisions have we already done there? And so we went back, and then we got it up to 48, and then 52, 58, 62, now 64. And John keeps adding, and I'm telling, no, John, no.
We'll get this thing to 70.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with the conversation we had today, yeah, probably. So it's been a long process trying to figure out how we want to do this, and then we came across. I've been like going on YouTube and kind of like seeing, is there anyone else kind of doing this? And I came across like a few people in CG world. I don't label myself. I'm not one that say I'm CG or anything. I don't like to label myself. But I was watching them and getting really great advice from John Malin. I thought his advice was incredible. So I went to John, said, maybe we should do a YouTube channel. And John's like, well, we have a podcast. Let's see how that flies. And so we went and did a podcast on the 204 Rise. Hail to Taryn and Retech. Those guys are great. So we went over there, did a podcast. We had a lot of fun with it. It was a great podcast. And I was like, I think we could do this. We could, just sell ourselves and then build an audience like what they're saying on YouTube. And John's like, okay, let's do it. And so we started a YouTube channel. October 30th was our first show. We had Joe Sontag on. It was like almost 3 hours long, if not longer. I think. And we had a great time. I was just like, holy crap, this is a lot of fun. Like you get like a lot of information. And then we had Dale Keown on, we had a few others on. And then I was like, I really like this. And so we've just kind of grew from there. And then the book, we've just been gradually picking away at the book and getting that done as well. So that takes us up to now. If I missed anything, like, mention it, John. But I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think that is. I think you got pretty much everything.
So,
That's good stuff, man. Yeah, I mean, I liked how thorough you were and all that. It really gives you good view of just everything. That I mean, that's what it always is, right? It's always process. And you hit those road bumps, and it's just good to see that you guys kept going. And that determination is good. That you never, you know, give up. And I really like this the look of this book. And let's pull this up.
Can I
But
just make? Can I make one comment? Like Alex
of course,
VRB just made and I'm glad he made it. Uh,
yeah,
I have nothing against a lot of the people in CG. I want to make that clear. We've met some incredible people. In fact,
yeah.
majority of the people we've met, there's only one person, and John, you know who, that I just don't care to talk to, and he's kind of a no name. But I mean, we've met incredible people, and I always wondered, like, why they get labeled this way. I don't understand why they get this
Such bad press.
yeah, and I'm just like, because if anything, we've gotten nothing but support from majority of the people we've met, and I'm very thankful and appreciative. I just personally don't like to label myself. That's it. That's just, I don't want to say I'm this or that. That's
yeah,
all.
that's kind of where I've been too, honestly, is I just kind of
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care, yeah, I just, well, I don't think it's as simple as this or that, Alex. That's the way I see it personally. People can call me, and I'm sure you guys probably see it similar. But anyway, regardless, someone said this is the third time I've heard this story. These guys are going to be famous because they don't stop. That's exactly what I was saying. Great minds think alike. So let's pull up your campaign now. Right here. Where the hell did I? It was right there, man. This shit disappears on you. Disappears on you. When I told you I have a million tabs open. There we go. There we are. All right. So we got a trailer right here. Let's watch it, and then we can talk about it further. Oh, it. Nice. Looks great, man. Looks great. So with that out of the way, so you guys have, now we could talk more about the story. Obviously, you guys have seen a bit from that trailer, or if you're just listening, tell everyone what this story is about.
Do you want me to warm you up there, John?
Yeah, sure. You're a pro with this whole being a guest on different shows. You're out there every day. I'm just this lonely dad going to soccer practice, just alone with my pencil.
Here we go, playing the victim.
You're so cool, Jay. So much popular than me.
No. John, I say this every time, and I mean it every time. Like, John, well, first of all, John's like a brother to me. I would do anything for that guy. So I'm happy that he's in my life. But he has really, really kicked ass with his story. He's got a great story to tell. I think people would be really surprised when they get this book in their hands, how cool and how thrilling this graphic novel with a heavy manga infusion is. Originally we said manga, but like I think people were getting confused with that. They were thinking they were getting a manga book, and we decided no, we don't want that confusion. We're going to go with, it's going to be a graphic novel, but it's going to be a kind of a manga infused graphic novel. It's going to be black and white. It's going to tell an incredible story. It's going to be right now it's 64 pages. Tomorrow it could be 72 for all I know. We have 3 covers. One was done by Corey Barton, the Virgin cover there with the August King. And this story basically is the prologue to the main open world story that John has created. And this story is primarily on the 3 characters, Masato Kana, the August King, and Kadim, who is the antagonist and the necromancer that's trying to take over Cloud Peak. And I'm going to swing it right over to John and let him tell his story.
All right. So to pick up from there, Cloud Peak is the setting for this first book. It is a mountain as well as a city, and the city is ruled by the August King, who I'm going to start pointing, who we see at the top there with the mighty big sword and the clouds and everything behind him. Corey really did kill that illustration. Yeah, there you go. Zoom in on the August King. He deserves it. Yeah. So he's he's the ruler of Cloud Peak. And his backstory is that he comes from this ancient bloodline of men who live for over 1,000 years. So he's been the ruler of Cloud Peak and kept it safe for 300 years in this time of almost like global war that's been taking place. And out of the west rises this incredible threat to the world. And it's this Arch Necromancer, Kadim. And so he's the most villainous villain I could come up with. He's bent on, basically conquering the world, which is an old trope, but we're putting our own spin on it. And he wants to be the master of everything in service to the dark gods that grant him his power. And after basically conquering the entire world, the world's future is on the knife's edge because only Cloud Peak stands in the way of total victory by this Kadim character. At which point, that's basically where the story opens up, is with this dire threat to the city. And we're introduced to the August King. And then on that wraparound cover, just to the side, you see
You're pointing.
I can't help it. I just want to turn the camera off, dude. It's like, stop looking at me. It's so awkward over here. But yeah, so that warrior there is Masato Kana, and he is the protagonist / hero of our story, and he's a very honorable warrior, inspired by Bushido and samurai warrior culture. Obviously, just looking at the armor, Jay and I are both huge fans of Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, hell yeah.
And definitely a lot of design was done by studying kind of their work, because it's such a beautiful game. Anyways, before I go off tangent too much, so there you have Masato Kana, and the August King, Masato Kana, and then Kadim, of course, are your 3 primary characters. There's some other minor people caught up in the politics of the city. So we try to give this perspective of what would a city be like when it's seemingly besieged by an unstoppable force. How are the people of power going to react? Like those who have most to lose, what are they going to do? They're probably going to, try to save their own skin if they can. The little people, like the peasants in like Game of Thrones, who would always get annihilated. No one really thinks about them except for the August King, because he knows what Kadim is all about, and you can't you can't give in to a terrorist or a bully or a global conqueror if you want to do the right thing.
It's awesome. So I want to ask, what are some of your comparables when it comes to this story?
Let's go.
What is this, tough question for you guys?
No, you go. Yeah, John, go ahead.
Yeah. There's Jay's art obviously is inspired by a lot of different things over the years. And I mean, really, that's when you create a book, it's kind of a compilation of everything you've learned and you're choosing to put in. So we're embracing this manga art style with the black and white and the, you know, the Eastern themes, but we're also throwing in some Western themes into the world building. But comparables from just the world building perspective, I'm really inspired by George Lucas and what he produced with the Star Wars universe. Like the diversity of creatures or like different species that you would see, especially in like the original stuff and the animated series, is where you see these alien species and you get to know their culture and you get to explore who they are in depth. And even if it's just something that's passing in the background, you're like, well, what's that? That's really cool. I know sometimes obviously George got out of hand with that, especially when the CGI got at a higher level. But what another major inspiration for me when it comes to developing story arcs is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that's
that's a good one.
One of my favorite television shows of all time. And I feel like the way they did their story arcs and especially the character arcs is just some of the best stuff out there. And then obviously Game of Thrones, because it's that long epic story. A big major influence for me lately, and it's only because it's new to me and I hadn't discovered it in the past, is the manga Berserk.
Yeah, that's one I know I have to read. Everyone speaks nothing but just the highest praise.
Very, very dark story.
Yeah, that's a good tone for what our book is going to be like. Like, not, I shouldn't say not the, like, there's going to be violence. There's going to be all kinds of kind of terrible situations that we do. It's just ours will be different from Berserk's, obviously, because that's just a different story. But the story that we're going to create can be certainly compared to Berserk insofar as being very dark. I think maybe we might offer a bit more hope than Berserk does. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just try to take it even lower.
Yeah.
And then like those are the big ones for me. I mean, I could kind of go on and on.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, yes, I should say Lord of the Rings. He's the godfather of fantasy and telling the large narrative. I actually just watched a really interesting documentary on Tolkien, and
bring it back, John.
I'll diverge slightly. They talk about what his inspiration was, and supposedly, if you look into like Nordic stories and mythology, he's lifting names directly from those sources. Like there's tons of Gimlis and there's tons of like all the dwarf names. There's like 10 of them in like these Norwegian and Scandinavian stories. But back to us. Yeah, it's interesting. But certainly he's
you just got called nerd.
I am a nerd. I'm a super nerd. Jay's not the only one who was hiding. I used to be on the football team and play D&D in high school. Like, that's divergent.
Yeah.
But anyways, obviously, him. And then there's this one Canadian author who I really enjoyed. I didn't finish the series because they were just such large novels. But his name is Stephen Erickson, and he writes Tales of Tales of the Fallen, I think it's called. Regardless, it's like a 10-book epic fantasy story, and his world building is so profound and in depth that you almost can drown in the details of the world. He's like, the story is fantastic and incredibly exciting, which is what I really took from it, of trying to tell this exciting story while building this huge world. And his stuff, Stephen Erickson's, it's if you like epic fantasy and long stories, like each book is minimum 1,500 words and there's 10 of them. But if you like epic fantasy, it's spectacular because it's almost never ending. But yeah, those are the big influences. Then from comics, I don't really know if we have any, like the manga more so, I would say, from the story perspective. But insofar as, you know, classic comic books from Marvel or DC, I'm not sure if there's any real inspiration in what we're producing.
Well,
Jay?
for the art, I really wanted to, and I've mentioned this a few times as well, that Frank Miller is not afraid to push the boundaries and think outside the box. When he did a Wolverine 4-parter back in the early 80s, and then he did the Dark Knight Returns and had a different art style, and then he did 300. And since he's always changing up.
Why didn't you mention Daredevil? Come on, man, you amateur.
Well, Daredevil
was
Daredevil's fantastic. He did a great job in there, but like I'm just saying that he went from the comic Western
style.
He constantly changed his style. Even recently, like people they were talking about, they're saying, "Oh man, this is crappy art," but you're talking about Frank Miller. He's still relevant. You may not like his art style, but you're still talking about him. The guy, he knows what he's doing. He knows he knows how to get you to say his name. And so I really love that about him. And then he again is doing it with Philip Tannen. We were lucky to have Philip Tannen on our channel and become actually pretty good friends with him. And
issue 3 out. I'm so sorry, I was just looking it up. Of Ronin Kill.
The Ronin book 2.
Is that issue 3 out?
That comes out in July. It was supposed to come out in June. Now it's backed up into July. I just got told that July 19th, I believe it is.
Yeah, I haven't read Ronin yet.
But they're doing that graphic novel with that manga infusion in it, just like what we were like looking at, and it's amazing. And we had a great conversation with Philip Tan, and a lot of the stuff that he talked to us about in the back room. And we're looking forward to doing things with him in the future. But he potentially, I don't know, like because he's so busy, like that guy is crazy busy. But he kind of inspired me. He says, "Don't give up. Like you guys, like you guys are doing something really great here. I love what you're doing. People got to do more of this and challenge themselves artistically." And it gave me the confidence to do it. And so when we put out the book, and it's tough. It's hard to sell a comic or a graphic novel or a book. It's hard, right? So like when when we weren't getting the numbers right, people are not digging the art style, and I was like I was beating myself up. And then a lot of the support I've been getting, like it's been great. Like a lot of people are saying like, no, it's not the art. They're saying it's good. I don't know if they're meaning it or not, but it seems like people are enjoying the art. So kind of give me more confidence to continue and keep going and pushing it. And then having people online doing campaign reviews, talking about our story and the artwork with a lot of positives there. So it was just, I think I needed to hear that, because you're as an artist, you're always afraid that people are not going to like your work. Like it's
not just artists, for the record, right, John?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited to continue have this. I'll have this done this summer, and then if John doesn't add pages, and we'll have it probably out by late fall. I know we said like I think we put March 2024, but it'll be way down before then.
Yes, unless to make sure that all our bases are covered, because it's our first campaign, and we want to make sure we fulfill on time for this first one.
I listen. It's always easier said than done too when it comes to I was even like crunching the numbers and looking at all the stuff, because a lot of people don't realize that even if you're a great writer or an artist or whatever, because look at the big two, they have teams for that stuff. They can promote, they fulfill, they do all that. But it's just really cool, like especially having your idea. And listen. Obviously, Jay, he sees something in you, like, because this, I'm speaking from experience. This is what your like life's dream of yours, John.
Yeah.
You don't just pass it off to some, can you just draw this? And this stuff, I really like this. I know you said you meticulously drew each and every one of these individually, right?
Yeah.
I like your panel compositions too. Again, yeah, Miller. I find myself when I look at panel compositions. I mean, there are a fair amount. I also look
Yeah.
at, particularly when I'm afraid I'm writing too much on a page. I make myself feel better by looking at Claremont's art and going, okay, no, they were able to put like 5 bubbles in this like little panel. But when it comes to like page layouts,
Yeah,
I look at Frank Miller stuff all the time, man.
me too.
He's just a master at just. I mean, he too was inspired by manga. As probably everything I know about Miller, and then
Hmm.
10 times that. But like I like this, and this is some horror movie stuff right here.
Yeah.
Visceral. I like a lot of this. And so, is this your main villain, by the way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, I could tell. So, what made you decide to put your villain on the cover?
Well,
He's a really major character.
yeah,
Like he's, the concept of like there's the characters that like make the action, and then there's the other characters who respond to the action. Kadim is making the action. He's causing the story to move forward, and the king and Kana and basically everybody else is, marching to his drum.
Mhm.
I think again, thinking outside the box, it's so easy to put the heroes in the front or the protagonists on the front of the cover, and I always I always gravitate towards like me growing up. It was Darth Vader, it was the Joker, and like they never got the covers as like as much as they should have, and because I thought there was such there was a lot of layers to their characters. There was a lot of depth to their characters, a lot of flaws. There's just, I thought they were just fantastic, villains. And I always said that if I'm going to do a book, I want one with a villain on the front.
Mhm.
So when the people read the book, they're going to be, and trust me, like Kadim is like he is my favorite character because he's like pure evil. Like he is doing Lagotha's job to a T. Like he's bringing the darkness, he's bringing the evil, and doing his God's bidding. And when people see the book, it ain't pretty, put it that way. And you're gonna see how evil this guy is, and how cocky he is, and confident this man is. And so, I when we were talking about, I said I want to do a Kadim cover because then when people read the book, they're going to be like, oh, I need to get the Kadim cover, because you'll realize when you read the story why it's all black and you have Kadim there, because I just get excited.
He's a really great villain.
That's good. Yeah, villains. I mean, I debate on like who's easier, heroes or villains. I find that often. I mean, there's many more, but like I feel like there's 2 primary types of villains. There's the, I mean, I guess there could be arguably more, but like I feel, at least when it comes to super villains, or not even just that, but like there's the one that's pure evil, sadistic. You look at the Joker, like you mentioned. You look at Reverse Flash, and then you have the ones that are much more, understandable and sympathetic in their motivations. You look at Doctor Doom, Magneto. You look at Mr. Freeze, right? Those are villains that and there's obviously a huge area in between, but I often find that those are like generally the 2 most prominent, or at least like interesting types. And it's not to say that there aren't more, but when I think of just like the extreme ends of it, I find that. And I honestly love those crazy evil. Sometimes I almost fear like people in their. I love nuanced stories and everything, but sometimes I'm afraid that we're going to lose that psycho villain of if everything just starts being too gray. Because I love when things have gray, but if there's, for example, I think the redemption arc we see a lot, and people get, when you overuse it, it kind of is going to lose its impact. There's some characters that I think are just like evil. And then when you have someone who can be redeemed, I think that's great. It's also, there's just the idea that you're going to run out of villains and then have too many heroes. If you redeem every character. I know people were saying, like, because you mentioned Avatar as an influence. Like, people were saying, like, oh yeah, Azula should have a redemption arc. Even one of the voice actors who I met, super nice. But I disagree with that. I think Azula is a psychopath.
Yep.
People make arguments. Even if the creators came out and said she's not a psychopath, I would disagree with them on their own character, because she's literally like throwing shit and trying to kill animals as a child. Like, that's an early sign of a serial killer. Like, but I do like, and those are good questions. But now let's talk to listen. I got to pay respect to the chat, as degenerate as their questions are, and I do apologize.
No, don't apologize.
How many gratuitous sex scenes does that look? 3, 4.
Well, if we're talking long term, lots. Over this, like, the entire story arc, there's going to be, like, sex is a thing that exists in the world, and we tell stories that are, like, based off of reality, even though it's in a fictional world. So for sure, there's going to be some, but it has to serve the story.
Right.
I guess, which makes it ungratuitous because it'll serve the story. But, like, even what you're seeing on that panel below Kadim is, like, a really dark scene. Like, these tentacles of darkness are, like, entering this being and kind of, like, consuming him from within. And it's once the text is up, added, it'll be a lot even more dark than what it is, because you have him at the bottom. There's basically these two gods have tried to consume each other, and this takes place in the First Age, when gods and titans were in, like, an eternal war. And the big difference was that when a god killed another god, it could steal his power. So if you imagine, like, the Greek gods or the Norse gods, and they'd have their specific power sets. So if Thor killed Loki, Thor would steal Loki's power. So he would have Highlander. Yeah, exactly. It's very like Highlander. There can only be one. So what's happening in this scene is these two gods have found each other, and one, the dark one, attacks the other one. But then they kind of come together through a really bizarre. It's magic, like. You've got gods trying to eat gods. Something strange happens, and it becomes. Well, I'm pointing again, and it becomes that tentacled figure at the bottom of the page, and it's the evolution begins. I am a rookie. It's fine. I'll always be a rookie. I talk with my hands too much. I'm just like, do you see the thing there?
Yeah, I mean that. So tentacles, man. Yeah, I mean those are all like. Oh God, just the more I look at this, it's very. Man, that's some messed up stuff, Jay. I hope that was fun for you to draw.
That was great.
Oh, just wait.
So someone had a question.
Just wait.
When ordering this, I suggest getting all 3 covers the same shipping. I think Jay and John has mentioned that they will ship from Chicago. Is this true?
Yeah. That'll keep our the shipping prices down by shipping through Chicago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm shipping. I know, like, that's such a. I'd love to ideally at one point. I mean, that's the problem, is everyone's independent, but like the amount of money that we could save by just if people could just somehow ship from one location. That's an idea for whenever.
I'm down for it.
We'll have to talk.
I'm gonna share a sneak peek at a page here that we just had received from our inker, Ernest Jockson. I want to mention him actually. When we were originally doing this, I was going to do the inks and the pencils, and so and then of course doing the YouTube channel and everything, and we've kind of done pretty well on with the YouTube channel, considering we've only been up for 6 months. So it's been getting busier and busier with that, and I have a heavy workload. And John's just like, we need to alleviate that and take away the inks from you and give it to someone else. And I was kind of hesitant. I was like, where's the money going to come in? He goes, don't worry about that. Let's just. So we went on a search for an inker, and we came across Ernest Jockson, who worked with David Finch, Michael Turner,
Jim Lee.
Jim Lee. He's worked with all these people, and so we had an interview with him. and yeah, an interview, just asking if he would be interested in, and it's kind of like, asking like what he expected from me, and the guy was absolutely amazing. He was really excited like to hear the story and where we're going with it, and I started sending him pages, and he really loved the feel of the story.
Mhm.
And I, like I said to him, like, I want to go for that manga infusion, and so he really got excited with that, and so we're getting this now, and it's just been amazing working with him, and he's bringing my artwork. He's bringing my pencils up another level. Like, you get a really good inker. Joe Sontag has said that too. Like, you get a great inker, they bring your artwork up like tenfold. So I don't want to take all the credit, because Ernest has been just as much as me. So he's been killing it.
He's an inker? Because I found colorist stuff. Let's see, Ernest Jockson?
Ernest Jockson, yeah.
I'm trying to find the
He's not on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was looking at Comic Vine.
Oh,
okay.
Smart him, by the way. That's it's a smart man. Staying off that godforsaken. Now, I say that as a Twitter user.
Yeah.
That website, but it's got its good sides. I guess I found you guys there, I think. So no, it's not all bad. Jay and John are excellent interviewers. BCW, that's true. I think Vaughn Coleman's a pretty good interviewer personally, but that's just bias. The inks are solid, man. I mean, it's just it's one of those things where you don't really understand the importance of an inker until you're really hiring one and seeing it in both. Because when it's on my shelf, I'm like, okay, occasionally I'll see something that's like not colored, but like mostly you see it fully colored or not colored, but which means generally speaking inked. But it's really until you're seeing it all just come together that you experience it all. And this being your first projects, I'm sure you've had like so many learning curves and everything, but you just keep at it. And I'm looking forward to this book. I'm sure tons of other people are or will be. This is going to be the first part of many, you said, right? Many books.
yeah.
And it's a great deal for a great page count too. What is it? According to, it seems like John's making you do 70. So $17.
If he wants the book out, then he would keep it at 64.
It's probably going to be right at 64. That's a pretty solid spot, unless something absolutely amazing comes into my brain.
I was looking at my script and I'm like, oh, it's I got it down to 62 pages. I'm like, wait a minute, I have an idea, and now I'm gonna tell myself, that's it, Vaughn. No
Last
more
idea.
good ideas. Yeah, you only get so many. Then you have to cut them down. And I'm
look at those inks. Like, he does, like, Ernest does an awesome job. Like, he's amazing. It's been great working with him, because we've kind of gelled. And plus, he was when we were talking to Philip Tan, he's like, "Oh, Ernest, I'm good friends with Ernest. Like, tell him I said hello." So like, I emailed Ernest to the page and said, "Oh, by the way, Philip Tan says hello. He wanted me to mention that we had him on our show," and he's just like, "Oh," and so we kind of even gelled more after that. So it's been great, like, having this kind of little connection, and I'm really excited to get this book. I think we were going to be colored.
Yes.
We had a colorist. Actually, we had two. Shout out to Jeremiah Skipper, fantastic colorist. He's great. Check him out on Instagram. Great guy. I have nothing but positive things about. But like, when we were gonna do the book, I just realized, like, he's not gonna be able to, do all these pages and have it done in time for when we wanted to put it out, just because of his day job and everything like that. So I was just kind of like, maybe we'll look somewhere else. And he was he understood it, and he was great about it. Again, nothing but positive things about Jeremiah, and I strongly recommend people, if you want some work done, ask him. He's great. And then we had another colorist, and then he did a couple of the covers, and then he couldn't continue anymore, so he just wanted to let us know that he had something. And so we were like, okay. And then we were like, oh man, we need to get another colorist. And then we're kind of like looking around, and then I was like looking at the work, And I'm
You're
like,
like, you don't need that shit.
Yeah,
we don't need it. It looks great as in black and white. So and then we started saying, like, why do we want to be in the back of the store with all the other graphic novels? Why don't we like make it manga infused and be in the front of the store with
I hear
all
the
the other
kids
books?
like that stuff these days.
well, they dig
Yeah.
the manga.
They might, they might freak out a bit when they start seeing that it's left to right. But yeah, I think they'll manage.
It's yeah. Well, we're gonna be hitting the Japanese, like the Asian market hard. And when we do that, we are going to have it from right to left. We are going to have it that style. So
yeah,
and translated also.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, I assume that. Yeah, just like keep it right to left, but keep it in English. So it's just like whiplash.
Mhm.
We could just have them in a constant state of panic the entire time reading it.
I also want to do a shout out to Alex VRB because I've seen him quite a few times in the chat, and he always posts our Atlas of Sidonia by Desolate Souls link, and I greatly appreciate that, dude. So thank you so much.
Dude, he has a spreadsheet. Like, because I asked him, because within seconds on stream, we mentioned something, and the link is in the chat, and I was like, "Do you have a spreadsheet?" And he's like, "Yes."
So, he's awesome. He's awesome.
He's a great guy.
He's
great
on
guy.
it.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
Whiplash by
awesome.
Metallica.
But yeah, like I mean, this page when Ernest sent it to us, I saw it and I like my brain almost exploded because it's so epic. And this is early in the story when this battle takes place, and I got like a real shiver of like this thing is becoming real. Because every now and then when you're working on it, like you get that experience of like, oh wow, this is actually happening. When I got this page, that I had that like tenfold.
And if you want, I could bring up the map where I could good size, like you can get a bigger sized map if you want there.
I could pull that up. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Here,
Yeah, I know you got a world map. I know that's popular with you fantasy nerds. You like?
Oh yeah. Our goal ultimately, after putting out, I'm not sure how many books, but we'll be able to actually produce a proper atlas of the world full of maps, which I think George R.R. Martin has done that, and certain IPs do quite well with that.
Is your world flat or round? That's the important question.
It's round.
It's round. All right, you might piss off the flat earthers, but it's okay.
Fuck them. They're ignorant.
Yes. It's just be like it's just the fantasy, guys. This is a very unrealistic world. You know, that's what you got to tell them. Or you could tell them, fuck them. You know, I guess that works too.
Yeah.
Well, John needs to explain this world because it's I can never remember the name that you have. The
Pangea.
Oh yeah, come on. So you don't know Pangea, Jay?
No. Is it a pasta? Is it a pasta?
Give me the Pangea.
Give me the Pangea.
No, it's all right. So
shoot.
You know what? I'll show my expertise for a moment. You know,
all right.
It's basically before we had continents. It was one giant landmass called Pangea. This is a real thing. So I guess did you model your Pangea after that at all, or no?
Well, I mean, I was certainly inspired by the Pangea of our own world's history, and I just loved it as a setting for a story world of having it all connected, and yet at the same time, certain sections are blocked, separated because of mountains and oceans and all the stuff. And I mean, when you're building a world, you get to create everything, right? So I have like this map doesn't have it, but I have another map with like the currents and the way currents work and the weather patterns of different regions. And this world is approximately twice the size of planet Earth, like circumference around the globe. And for where our story takes place in this first book, Cloud Peak, that mountain is twice the height of Mount Everest, which would, there you go. Which when you're at the peak of it, it would be literally in the like upper atmosphere, almost into outer space. Mm-hmm. So to be able to get to that destination in this world would be even more incredible than people climbing Mount Everest, because there would literally be no oxygen and like it would be absolutely freezing. So to be able to get up to that mountaintop, you would have to be quite the capable
Mm.
person. I suspect Tom Cruise could probably do it.
Yeah, I could do that shit in like a week. That's good. All right. So did you design this?
Yeah.
So hang on, you didn't tell him to look at Pangea?
No. I drew it
Hold
out.
on.
John.
It's my
You
design.
got a
It's my
creative
map.
dispute going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. And then
okay.
he made it in the art software where he was
I
doing
took
it.
You
his
never told this man about Pangea?
He just has struggle. He struggles with words. He's an artist.
It's no more than 3 letters. So
10.
I took his pencil crayon drawing and I made it into this, and this is the map.
So
That came around, bit you in the ass, didn't it?
So what made you decide on the name of Cydonia? Where'd you get that from?
That's the name of my daughter.
Cydonia.
Actually,
cool.
yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I always think of the name, the song "Knights of Cydonia" by Muse.
Yeah, for sure. Cydonia is also a mountain range on Mars.
Is that what it is? Is that where it originally comes from? Because
it's that and the plant kingdom. So I'm not sure which came first, either the mountains on Mars or the plant kingdom. But the story Atlas of Cydonia is actually the name of both of my children. My son's name is Atlas, and when I said to Sid that I love your name and I want to see it more in more places, so I'm going to name my world after you. And she was 3 at the time, and she was like, okay, great. And she grabbed her dolls or pencil crayons, whatever. But my son was standing there, and he immediately said, well, what are you going to name for after me then? And I was like, okay, that's fair. We got to keep things fair in the house. So I mulled it over for like a week, and I was thinking of different things that we could name after him. And then it came to me that it's the perfect title for the entire series.
That's
because
crazy.
We're going to build an Atlas of Cydonia through our books.
I would have never thought that Atlas was just your kid's name. Like, it's just the title just makes sense. Atlas of Cydonia. It makes perfect sense. Imagine if you named him something like George or John.
George of Cydonia. Let's go.
Yeah, George. That was like shit. But name him Atlas. I mean, that's not tough to incorporate. Cydonia is a region of Mars that is known for the face on Mars formation. The name Cydonia comes from the historic Polish Kydonia on the island of Crete. Thank you, AI. Oh, okay. They could be spreading misinformation. Pangea was too large, which resulted in droughts. Oh, interesting. Does this initial story feature each of these places, or is it over time?
This first story.
Oh boy!
Thank you, Timescales.
Timescales. I love you, bro. But you just opened a huge.
No, I'm getting better, Jay. You're talking to your friends on other streams. And you think you're a big shot now.
What?
I've been talking to myself in the shower while thinking of you and deciding what I will say.
No.
Anyways, there's really 3 phases to this first book. There is that the primary storyline of the August King and his champion Masato Kana and the villain Kadim. That is the meat of the story. That is probably like 50 pages of the story itself, of the book proper. And then in the beginning, this book has a prologue. What that prologue is a snapshot of a time during the first age of the world, which I call Theotitanomachy, and that's Greek for War of Gods and Titans. So we open up with this mythological time frame where the world is completely unlike what it is today. Here, with this map we're looking at, the world is formed. Everything is solid. Like, there's nothing, crazy like science. What's the word I'm looking for? Like physic anomalies where you would just have stuff floating in midair, or just odd magical / scientific unexplainable events happening. And that's all taking place in this Theo-Titanomachy period because everything is just out of alignment because you have all these gods fighting, right? There's no balance. And that's how we opened the book, was with these gods and these titans and introducing the world of Sidonia. Then we get to the meat of the story, which, as I've said, is the August King, Mitsachokana, and Kadim. And that takes place, and then we will end the book set in the present, because that middle section is really, it's happening in time for the reader, but it's a defining moment in the past that has an impact on the world going forward for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
it has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The fallout of that particular day will basically echo in eternity for Sidonia.
Gotcha. All right, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. All this stuff sounds awesome, and I think people are really gonna dig this story. Let's see, I think I basically asked every question I had, but I think this is gonna be great. It sounds like you thought a lot about this world and this story, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up the campaign one last time. We'll go through the tiers. So we have a few covers. We have. You can either get all three or you just get one of each. So I'm just curious, what made you decide? Well, it's this black main cover. What made you decide on this is the main cover and this is the variant?
Well, I didn't want to make the wrap around the main cover, and I thought, like, when you're looking at books, like, do you want to buy a Luke Skywalker cover or do you want to buy a Darth Vader cover?
Depends on how cool the cover is. I'm sorry, I know you wanted an answer where it's like I say Darth Vader. I will say that for the Star Wars Episode 9, when that came out, everyone chose the dark side thing, but that's just because, Kylo Ren was cooler than Rey. But listen, I don't know. I like Luke, man. But I get what you're saying. For argument's sake, I'll say Darth Vader to help you.
Yeah, Darth. Majority of the people probably want to get the Darth Vader because he's like a cool character, right? Again, I wanted to change it up and have the villain on the front of the book because this book is the prologue, and there's a lot in this book. When you read the book, you get to know Kadim in here, and you're going to understand why he's in the cover of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we have the Corey Barton Virgin cover with the August King, which is he's knocked it out of the park. He's like, those Barton brothers are incredible with their art. I just felt like that would be. I just felt like I love the wraparound cover. I had a lot of fun drawing that out, but I just felt like that black main cover it should be the main cover. I'll stick with it.
Part of the thought also is how it will stand out in bookstores and comic book shops.
Yeah,
is having that style of cover. Either one of these covers will, or any of the covers will kind of pop out, but that blackout cover of Kadim with the logo that matches the purples in his magic, that's gonna catch people's eyes.
Mm-hmm. It's good shit, man. This all looks great, and I think everyone's gonna have a lot of fun with this. We've got each cover. I like that each cover has something different. It's not just three different artists drawing the same thing. And so there really is reason to get more. Do you plan on adding any more tiers to your comic?
Well, I'm doing another cover, but that's going to be an exclusive cover for when we're done Indiegogo. We're going to have an exclusive cover for when we go to another platform.
Gotcha.
To sell the book, and then we'll decide when we, because we do have a plan to sell this in bookstores. So when it gets into the bookstores, it is going to be a decision we're going to have to make when it comes to what cover we put out there. Because there's ideas I have for the black main cover. I'd like to add more of the kind of the foil look for the magical mana that's around Kadim. That would look, I give it a real cool look. The wraparound cover is it's pretty cool looking. And Corey, Corey's just great too. So, but the idea I have for the exclusive cover, I think, is going to be really enticing as well. So, that's where I'm at.
That's awesome, man. So everyone make sure to check this out. And wait, do you have stretch goals built in too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 5,000 you get the map. It'll come with the books. 10,000 you get the Masato Kana print. That's also done by me. And then we're gonna have trading cards, but I think we'll have those for another campaign because I don't know if we'll reach those.
Yeah, but I think our Kickstarter, and I think for this first book, we will like combine the totals so that if people are coming on through a Kickstarter campaign and that gets us to say $15,000 or $20,000, then all of the backers would still unlock the cards for sure. Because everybody who's helping out, you're the fucking best. You're cooler than anybody else you know because you've got the best book of all time coming in the mail soon.
That's
for
awesome. The best book of all time.
$15 American, delivered right to you.
15. Oh, it's a 17.
Sorry, 17.
Anyway, yeah, that's a great deal, guys. And everyone make sure to hop on that. And anything you guys want to say before we close out?
Thank you for the support. Thank you to the chat. We're very close to 500 subscribers. If we could get 50 people that just subscribe to Desolate Souls Studios, that would be great, and then we could get monetized.
I just hit 450. Let's see who's gonna win. Maybe we could do a race, like a little.
We could do a race.
I think competition, man, is an excellent. We gotta We gotta figure out some sort of. You run ahead of me. All right, guys. We got here, Vaughn. Guys, we got to subscribe to the Vaughn Coleman YouTube channel. We really need it.
Desolate Souls Studios. We're 49 away.
To both, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
We'll have to figure out some sort of something for whoever gets there first. I don't know.
Here's something else.
I'll just be like, suck it, and then but also good luck in your book. I can't be mean to you guys, but a little competition, isn't gonna hurt anyone. So guys, make sure to check out their channel, make sure to subscribe, make sure to back their book. Oh, I just hit 81 subscribers and stared at the screen all day in disbelief. Haha. All right, let's let me take a look at your stuff. That too.
Timescales. We did an interview with Timescales. It was
he's awesome.
A great time. Great guy.
I just subscribed. Haha, now you have 82 subscribers. All right.
There you go.
All right, Timescales. And welcome to my channel, man. I think this is the first time I've seen you in the chat. So seems like they're here from you guys.
Yeah, he's a regular of our channel, and he's super awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Oh shit! I have 451 now. Damn. We're on neck and neck.
There we go.
Neck and neck. All right,
gotta
guys.
start making some clips, Jay.
Yeah.
Oh shit. You should have said this off air so I could that way I don't just steal every idea you guys can make. Yeah. Anyway, steal away. Look at that.
Vaughn's already.
Don't worry, Vaughn. I can upsub. Wow, you guys are really helpful.
Thanks, Alex.
Keep that even 450. That was my dream. Yeah, that's my main concern is having a fucking odd number. Thank you. But no, thank you. You guys have been a blast. Thank you for having me on your channel before. It only seemed natural that I have you on mine. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. And I want to announce, so my next guest is going to be Irene Strakowski, Rini Draws. She's going to be here a week from today. So make sure to keep an eye on that. And I've got more guests down the pipeline, more content coming your way. I got a comic book in the works. And everyone make sure to check out these guys' stuff because they actually finished their book, unlike me. Or no, they actually have a campaign, I should say. So, yeah. Until next time, guys, see you. Thank you so much for coming on, and wishing you all the best. See you guys next time. Bye.
Joe.